The Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests, VV Dachin and songwriter Babby Green, are in the studio waiting to be profiled. Writer, producer, director, VV Dachin Hsu was born and raised in Hong Kong. After high school, she moved to New York City to study dance. And when she was going to the Juilliard School, she earned a BFA. And then, did you go right to Broadway?
Yes, right from Juilliard.
That was so
on Broadway, just like that.
That was so great.
Yes, I went to an audition on Broadway, and out of like, I don't know, hundreds of girls, I got picked to be in the show. You know, stars Hugh Brenner. That was his third year on Broadway. So I went through all these people for the audition, and then finally I ended up in front of Mr. Hugh Brenner. And I looked at him and I said, "Your Majesty." He said, "You are hired."
You said the right thing.
That was the right thing to say.
That was The King and I.
That was The King and I.
And
yes.
how many years did you do that role?
I did that role on Broadway for 2 years, and then I came to Los Angeles with the show, and then we were in the Pantages for another 6 months.
I think the idea, I was going to say, did you have any personal contact other than just being on the stage with Yul Brynner? But obviously he was choosing the people that he wanted on the...
Absolutely. It's called the King of Siam Company, and really he's the emperor, and he chose his whole company. There's more than 150 employees, you know. There's 100 people on stage alone. And then there's, you know, the makeup people, the costume, the lights, the musician. Oh, the musician. You know, so I guess it was a couple hundred people employed in this company.
So here you were, from Hong Kong to Juilliard.
Yes.
Got a Bachelor of Fine Arts.
Yes.
You were interested in dance.
Yes.
Did you sing in The King and I?
Yeah, I sang.
You did?
I sang, but never again.
But did you dance also?
Yes, I was a dancer. Yes, I was a dancer, act and sing and dance, yeah.
And could we see you on stage if we looked good?
Yes, if you look really, really hard. There was 30 wives, and I was one of the wives.
Oh, you were very young, right?
Very young.
Because you were,
yeah, very young.
But you were a choreographer at the time.
Yes.
Because you were very interested in dance. Did you get to use your choreography background?
Yes, I did. I had numerous. In those days, are called a loft performance. You know, you have lofts, and you present your choreography. And then I also choreographed for the Lincoln Center dance program. We go around high schools and go to perform. And yeah, I had a very nice time in New York.
So
dancing.
as a choreographer, did you do your own performances, or did you hire people to come in and dance?
Yes, I dance. I put on, my biggest show is called The Dream of the Red Chamber. It was based on a Chinese novel. And I had 25 people on stage, and I danced one of the role, and I was the choreographer.
Oh, you did?
That was my biggest piece.
So that couldn't have been in a loft. That must have been in a theater.
Yeah, we did
in
theater?
theaters
too. Mm-hmm.
Then, did you decide to stop acting, or what happened to you?
Yeah. I wanted to. I danced since I was very young. 4 years old, I started.
Did you take classical ballet?
Yes, classical ballet, modern, Martha Graham, Jose Limon.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, and plus Spanish dancing, whatnot. Yes, and classical Chinese dancing too.
Oh, that's what I was thinking of when.
Right. When I was a child. Then I wanted to broaden my horizon. You know, I wanted to. I was always interested in film, so I went to UCLA Film School, and my interest gradually changed over to film, and now I do film exclusively.
Well, you then got a master's
at UCLA
Film School.
Yes.
And did you decide to give up acting completely and be a filmmaker?
Yeah, yeah.
More or less?
Pretty much. I think to do things well in life, you have to concentrate. And I wanted to concentrate on filmmaking now. Maybe I'll do a film about a dancer, you know. And I think dance is in everything I do. It's in the timing, it's in pacing, it's in the visual sense.
That's
it's
great.
you know, it's still the same thing. I'm dancing with a different medium.
Really? Yeah, you can put me in your film. I mean, I took dance from
I would love to.
from Madame Ryabushinska.
Oh my God!
Tatiana
yeah,
Ryabushinska.
Yes.
For years and years and years. I'm still going. So.
Oh my God, that's wonderful.
But,
no wonder you're so young and has this
Oh,
air.
is that what it is?
Yes,
The
yes.
dance?
It's
Oh.
the dance.
I
yeah.
thought it was my Armenian genes. Then you started writing. You were writing
Yes.
films.
Yes, yes. I had children. I have two babies. Then you can't really go away too much. So I really concentrated at home writing.
Which is in Los Angeles
In
now.
Los Angeles now, writing scripts. I spent many years writing scripts. I had a script that was made into a feature by a friend of mine called The Phoenix. Yeah.
So other people were producing your
Yes.
writings.
Yes, yes. But I'm always interested in feature films. Really, that's to me the highest form of creative art. It combines all art forms: literature, music, acting, you know, camera, cinematography, everything in one art form. So.
One of your very important films, An American Vacation, which has won awards in
Yes.
many of the film festivals.
Yes,
And
yes.
a lot of awards. It's been shown in Los Angeles, New York.
Yes.
Where else? San Francisco.
San Francisco, in Chicago, hopefully in Seattle. Yeah.
How did that project come about? Because that was a big project.
Yes, yes. It took 3 years. The germ of the idea was I went on a motorhome vacation to celebrate my mother's 70th birthday. Then I realized, really, I have gotten so much from my family, from my mother. She was a very good mother. There's a lot of film about dysfunctional family and about dysfunctional mothers. Well, she's very strong, kind. She's given me guidance all her life, and we have a very close relationship. It was very inspiring to me to suddenly realize this is my roots. It's my Eastern education and my Western education has really come together, and my family has supported me. So I wanted to make a film to highlight the achievements of all mothers, including Mother Earth.
Oh,
you know,
that's
nature,
it. Right.
in nature. So really, this film comes about as a song to all motherhood.
Well, it's very autobiographical then. Do you call it an autobiography?
No, I wouldn't. Anything that happened in the film did not actually happen
I
in
see.
life. But all the characters had its roots in my family and other people. I know other people's family too.
You have a wonderful cast.
Yes.
We have a photograph on the set. So maybe if we can talk about the cast, we'll start with the first one, the mother and the daughter.
The mother is famous actress Tai Chin. She started her career, I think you profile her, or you will profile her in your show. She started her career in London's West End. She was the original, very original Susie Wong. She was in a wonderful film, Antonioni's film Blow Up. My favorite film. I've seen that 1,000 times.
How did you get her to be a part of your project?
Well, I seeked her out and I begged her.
I see.
And I showed her the script, and she said, "Oh, I love this sequence about this dream sequence with the dead husband. You know, and it happens in the 40s in China." And she said, "This is beautiful. I want to do this."
And who's this little girl?
The little girl is Sasha Shuchek. This is her film debut, and she's my daughter.
And the one up in the corner?
This one is Kim Miori. She's a wonderful actress. She's been in Women Warrior in Los Angeles Emerson Theater. She's Dr. Wendy Armstrong in St. Elsewhere for 3 years.
Oh,
She's
she was
very well known.
The Woman Warrior was Maxine Hong Kingston's
play.
Wonderful play.
Novel turned into a play. It
I
was
see.
beautiful in Los Angeles Emerson Theater here.
So then the next one.
This is actually also Sai Chin and Kim Miori, but the other actors are Debra Nishimura, who's well known in musicals and East-West Players here in Los Angeles,
yes.
the oldest Asian American theater. And then Dennis Dunn, who's the star of Big Trouble in Little China, The Last Emperor, many stage acting.
So did you have these people in mind, or did they fall into your lap, or did you beg all of them?
In life, everything falls in your lap, but you have to move your lap around.
That's what you have to do. But with independent films, you have a different kind of begging quality. You usually have something that's so great that the big studios won't take it.
That's right.
So I see what you're
That's
saying.
right. Yes, yes. It's so right. What you call
Isn't
the
it?
begging quality. You know, you really have to.
You have
'cause
something behind you.
That's right. And you have to have a project that you really, really believe in. That you will just give up everything just for this project, and you really need that. And if you have that, if something inspires you as much, then you will get your film made. It's not a problem. There's many opportunities.
And you even begged film. You got film from studios. I mean, you did like the classic independent feature film.
That's right. That's right. I got a wonderful studio executive gave us from a big, big feature. They had some leftover film. They gave it to us. I had many service donated to the show, and also I raised money from independent investors. That's major bagging.
That's very good.
Yes, yes.
So do you have a new film on the horizon?
Always working on a new film, always working on the next film. Yes, I have several scripts. I'm a little undecided right now.
They're your own?
They're all my own, yes. I want to, you make a film like this, takes 3 years of your life, you really learn a lot. I'm really trying to digest all that information that I learned. Also, the film is going through distribution right now. We are self-distributing it into the theaters. We will have a cable, television, and video distributors.
The other people who have been very helpful to you, and I know they run a lot of independent films, are the Laemmle brothers.
Yes.
They're very good about
they are
things.
wonderful. Los Angeles, we premiered at the Laemmle theaters, and we had a Los Angeles run and reviewed by Los Angeles Times, all because of the Laemmle theaters. They're very supportive to independent filmmakers.
I think people who know that a certain film company, or what do we call theater, will take something that's good.
Yes.
The public believes in them, and they go to their theaters to see those things.
That's right. Also, the public at least have a place to go to see the films.
Exactly.
You know?
Now, you have 2 daughters. Are they both actresses?
No, neither of them are actors, actually. Yeah.
Did you have to direct your own daughter?
Yes, of course.
How did it work?
It worked really well. She's very relaxed because she knows it's mommy. And and I'm very nice to my children, I use the positive reinforcement method. I don't scold them or anything, I see, that's how I direct actually. I see what's good and I highlight what's good, which some people direct by highlight, by saying what needs to be improved.
Right.
No, I just see what's good and I show that.
But what we did today was we found you, and we knew you were good, and we thank you for coming on,
Thank
VV.
you so much, Joan. Wonderful
Goodbye.
show. Wonderful
Thank you.
show.
Thank you. And don't go away. We're going to be right back with Babbie Green, composer, songwriter, singer, and actor. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back. Singer, songwriter, actor, Babby Green was born in New York City and had a bi-coastal childhood. I suppose it was because she was the daughter of Betty Furness and the daughter of 5-time Academy Award winner Johnny Green.
And they didn't get along.
Well, I think you answered my question.
So one was in New York and one was in California. And my dad has a second family, and I bounced back and forth.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But we did have show business in your blood, didn't we?
Absolutely. And I seem to be, half of each of them. The actor part from my mom and the music part from my dad.
Did you stay in LA a lot?
I lived here for 3 years, from when I was 6 until I was 9.
Oh, you did?
And I started visiting when I was 4. Was here some part of every year, but by the time I'd gotten out of high school, I really thought of myself as a New Yorker because I'd done most of my schooling.
Oh, you did? Where'd you go to school?
The Lenox School, which was a tiny little girls' school. Now I think it's a tiny boy and girls' school.
I know, that's what happened to my little Westlake school. It's now boys and girls.
Yeah, I liked the one-sex place. It was a great place for a girl.
And you know what's happening? I think that whole pendulum is swinging back again. I think they're sorry that they integrated commingled
sexes. Well, the interesting thing is, I think socially, I took a lot of my early adulthood catching up because I didn't have friend boys. But academically, I was happy as a clam because I loved school. I could focus on that. I wasn't worried about what somebody else thought of how I look or who was going to take me out.
Well, that was one of the things I think we were worried about. But I also think it brought out more talent.
Well, you were allowed to be whoever you were without fear of it.
Right, and you felt like you could do it. Did you ever go to the Oscar award ceremonies?
I did, and I went one night when my dad was nominated, and he had written the score for Raintree County, which was a wonderful, dramatic, heartbreaking movie. And I was his date because he and my stepmother had been on a cruise and she decided to stay on the boat. I mean, in a way, these awards were old hat because he was nominated 15 times.
Is that right?
So
and he won 5 times?
He won 5.
And
not shabby.
Tell us, he was a musical director.
He was a musical director of film, but before that began, when he was 18 years old, he had his first pop song hit.
Doing what?
He wrote the music for a number of songs that have become standards.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Body and Soul, I Cover the Waterfront.
Those were all his?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that. I knew that he won for scoring movies.
Right, and that was almost all the time he was working with other people's music in movies. In Raintree County, he had written the music himself, and as the award was announced, the name John was said, and he jumped to his feet, and it was a different John.
No. Oh.
And it was one of the most devastating things I've ever been through with my family, was just feeling his disappointment.
Oh, but let's go back to when you did go and he did win.
Well, I wasn't with him when he won.
Oh, you were
at home. I was at home. I was there to just catch the tears that night.
Oh, you did go that night?
I was there the night he didn't win.
Oh, my dear.
But,
let's go on to Smith College. Let's go on to Smith College.
So they sent me to Smith College.
So they sent you to Oh dear, you did go to Smith.
I did go to Smith.
You did graduate. So another girls' school.
Absolutely, and I did a thing that I guess in this day and age would have sent at least my then husband to jail, because I married one of my professors.
Oh, yes.
And people are so frightened these days of there are so many bad or inappropriate things that adults can do to children. We had the most wonderful relationship developed by the end of my senior year, which had started out strictly as a student-teacher one.
Was there a big difference in age?
24 years.
Oh, there was a big difference.
And my family was scandalized, and I know that I made one of the best decisions I ever made in my life.
Oh, so that's fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, were you acting then? Was this an act, or did you really do this?
I really did this. And it's interesting because making that choice is how I've made so many choices in my life, where the career thing was in my mind, but I made the choice on the basis of what felt personally right for me.
But so many people don't do that.
And I think living in my family, that was one of the reasons I was born into that family, was to learn that. I was given their gifts, but also needed to learn how to give myself the emotional life that I needed.
Let's talk about your mother.
Well, she was quite a lady.
Let's talk about your mother, because I think that'll open up some of the doorways to what we're talking about.
Well, my mother had started at 16 as a model, and she had been brought out to LA to audition for movies, and she made between 16 and the age 16 and 23, I can't remember how many movies. It was an embarrassing number of movies because they used to make them so fast.
Betty Furness.
Let's
make sure we say her name.
And
then Betty Furness and Johnny Green were married.
They met out here, they were married, and they went back east. My dad was, at that point, he had been working in radio out here and working with Fred Astaire. He made a couple of shorts.
I see.
And then when they went back east, my mother acted and in plays.
She was on Broadway. She was in
a bit
theater.
on Broadway and in touring companies. And my dad was the pit conductor. The first musical I saw when I think I was 2, when I was taken by my nanny, was By Jupiter, and my dad was the pit conductor.
He was the pit conductor.
And I was hooked.
Was that great? It was great.
I loved that whole aspect of my life, being able to be there while they did what they did, as just the greatest gift in the world.
I just remember your mother as being like a consumer advocate on TV. Like,
and that
really
she made her way there.
Looking for things that were important.
Absolutely. I think that it was very important to my mother to do something important. And as much as she loved acting, it wasn't the kind of passion that it is for somebody else, as much as being strong, being independent, being productive. And actually, if she could be a part of history.
I see that.
And so she followed her nose, and it led first to fame through doing commercials.
Right, I remember that.
In a decade when that made her one of the biggest stars in the country.
People didn't understand that. Actors didn't understand that.
Exactly.
And now they've really gotten onto it. Now it's really their thing.
Right.
But you, in a way, have done the same thing. You've worked behind the scenes. You've coached and directed and written music and taught.
Yeah, well, my parents gave me some really good values. My mother raised me to believe that there was nothing more noble than being a gopher.
That's true, and it's important.
Absolutely, so that I got to learn inside out and job by job what the things were that I was interested in doing.
So that really led to putting an act together, because you have written a lot of songs, and, and people like Andrea Marcovici and Michael Feinstein, Margaret Whiting have all sung your songs.
But when I was first out here with my songs, I wanted to just be able to write them in my little West Hollywood bungalow and send them out on wings and
that's
get
what
them
they
done.
did, and these people were singing
I
them.
had to go out and sing them first to get them done.
Ah, you didn't realize that.
Not at all, because I was writing so in the genre of theater and cabaret, and I was taking my songs to publishers who put music on the radio.
I see.
And these days, those two aren't very close together.
But now, because of what we were talking about a minute ago, that you learned from the bottom up and learned everything, you're putting together a cabaret act. And you're going to be in it.
I've been doing this act, and I'm very, very lucky to be working with 2 LA-based actor-singers, Laurie McIntosh and Kirsten Benton.
And I've seen it at different venues. Tell me how you put it together. How did you pick each one of these people? How do they fit into your
When I
group?
first did the act, I had done a workshop in the late 80s with a batch of actors, and some of whom turned out to be singers as well. And I did a monologue, and everybody had to do a monologue. I did a song. And of my own. And 2 women from that group encouraged me to do an act. And they were the first ones.
Oh, so they were
the
in the
act,
act with
right, and then they moved back east.
Well, that
and
was
so
clever.
gradually.
you. Okay, Babby, write us an act. We like what you did.
Bye.
But they did it with you.
They did it with me. We did several shows together, and then each one had different reasons to go back east. But in the meantime, I had fallen in love with the club scene and finding these amazing singer-actors who were in LA singing their hearts out, and some of whom I just so wished would sing with me.
So
and
that's how you did it.
I found each one of them doing their own thing and went to them and said, would you ever be interested in singing my stuff? And that's how it began.
Do you play the piano?
Yeah.
So do you play what do you do in this act?
It's me at the piano and the three of us singing, and we all of the material we do is by me. We're wonderfully different and have an amazing blend of personalities and voices. It's an interesting act because it's three people.
Right, and you don't call it like the trio. You don't have a name, do you?
No, we had a name in one of the incarnations of this act. The singers were Abby Apple, Laurie McIntosh, and Babbie Green. So we were Green McIntosh Apple.
Right.
But Abby Apple went on to do other things, thanks and goodbye. And so now, I mean, Green McIntosh Benton doesn't have the same...
Green, McIntosh, and Benton.
But
so do you call yourself anything?
I think we're going to end up calling ourselves something by the fall, because we're in the studio together doing a double CD of this act.
This
was our first CD that we're each on in tiny ways. This CD has some of the most amazing cabaret singers in the world on it, like Margaret Whiting and Andre Marcovicci.
Did you produce this? Is that it?
No, I'm producing. This was produced by a record company that isn't in business anymore, called Lockett Palmer. But I'm producing with a co-writer friend of mine, John Pusick, a double CD called Soldiers of the Heart.
Well, I
have a feeling that we may become soldiers of the heart. You like that?
I like in nobody's shadow. That means you can stand out by yourself and not be the shadow of...
Well, you know, it's interesting because it took me a few years to be willing to be introduced as my parents' daughter, because growing up that way, I had to find some place where I could go out and somebody would say, but that's a Babbie. Not that's the daughter of.
Right. But it's difficult.
And now it's fine either way to me.
But the great thing is, because you're the great thing is that you're so talented, and you stand on your own with your own talent.
Right.
And you can do all the things that maybe not what they did in their era, but you're doing it in your own era.
Exactly. And for me, the balance that I'm finding between what I do with the acting and the music and the rest of my life makes very satisfying days. I may not have the number of statues on my mantle that they had, but I'm very fulfilled by what I do.
Well, I'm so glad you came to visit us
Me
today.
too.
It's almost over, but I know you've gotten, you may not have the Academy Awards on your mantle, but you've got a lot of songwriting awards, I know. Really good ones.
And I think, you know, the thing about that is I didn't know they existed. One of the things that makes me sad is seeing artists have feeling that they're competing.
Yeah.
And in this case, I didn't know these awards existed, and the phone rang.
And they just
and I was actually in the audience one night